Hello, my name is Carsten Fyn. I would like to show you a chess game I played recently. The game is an amateur game, but it's a very interesting game and it has a very nice finish. So I think it would be worthwhile watching it. I have the black pieces and I play against Ben Boysen. We play the king's gambit and we play the Fischer variation. I think the Fischer variation gives the most natural play for black. White continues d4, black plays g5, and now white plays the unusual move bishop c4. In the Fischer variation, normally white plays h4, and then g4 and knight back to g1. But in this game, my opponent played bishop to c4. Black continues with knight c6, white castles, black plays bishop g4, and then c3, h6, rook e1, bishop g7, and a4. I don't think this is the right plan. White have sacrificed a pawn to get active play, but this pawn move is slow, giving Black time to develop his pieces. Black developed his knight to e7, and after a5, Black continues developing by castling. White plays b4, Black plays a6 to slow down the advancement on the queen side. I think in this position, Black has a clear advantage because all pieces are developed and Black is ready to counter. White plays the king into the corner in a more safe position, and Black continues with developing his queen to d7. White plays b5, and here Black goes a little wrong, playing the knight to a7. Instead, Black should have played a take b5, followed by bishop take b5. I didn't like this pin of the knight on the queen, and therefore I did not play a takes b5. But actually this variation turns out fine for Black. Black can simply play queen e7, and now when White plays d5, it looks like Black might lose the knight, but this is not the case. Black continues taking the knight on f3, and the queen takes back, and then Black plays queen to e5, and if White takes the knight, then Black can take with the bishop. And after a staging on b7, Black has a clear advantage because the white pieces are scattered all over the place, giving Black targets to attack. But Black did not play b5. Instead, he played the knight to a7, leaving the pawn on a6 in trouble. White can win the pawn of a6. He played a takes a6, and Black takes back, and now White could take on a6 with the bishop. But actually, I think that in that position, Black would be okay because his better development gives him sufficient compensation. White might have come to the same conclusion because instead of taking on a6, he moves the h-pawn forward to break up the Black king side. Black played knight g6, and pawns are exchanged on g5. Now there is a pin of the knight on f3, so we can't take on g5 with the knight. So White plays the queen to d3, removing the pin, so now g5 is under attack. Therefore, Black exchanges on f3, bishop take knight, queen take bishop, and then black plays g4. Now black has two very strong pawns on the king side, and I think those two pawns ensure black an advantage. These pawns are very dangerous for white. White plays the queen back to e2. Black plays the bishop to f6. The plan is to move the king to g7 and the rod to h8 to attack the king and take control over the h-file. White plays rod f1, attacking the pawn on f5, on f4. Black plays bishop g5 to protect the pawn. White moves the king away from the h-file, but black continues his plan, moving the king to g7, and now white plays e5. I don't think this is the best move, but it's difficult for white to find any good moves, but this opens up the center, some lines in the center that black can use for his attack. Black takes a pawn, and white does not take back. If he takes back, black can take. If he takes back on e5, black plays f3, and after g takes f3, bishop takes c1, rod takes c1, g3, bishop e4, queen h3, rod a2, rod h8. Black has a winning attack with control over the h-file and the pawn on g3. I can't see how white can defend in this position. So instead of taking on e5, white tries bishop a3. Attacking the rook. Black moves the rod to e8 and at the same time protects the pawn on e5. White plays d5, probably hoping to get some counterplay on the d-file and the c-file perhaps with the pawns, but it's too slow. Black plays e4, and now he has a tremendous and incredible line of pawns attacking the king side and the king position. White is basically lost in this position. Now finally white takes the pawn of a6 and black plays f3, attacking the queen who has to go back, and black takes the pawn on d5. White plays c4, and now probably to open up the diagonal from b2 to g7 so the bishop can attack the king and get some counterplay, but this is not enough for white. Black gives a check on d4, and white puts the rod between. Moving the king to the h-file would not help much, because then black could play his rook to the h-file. Now in the game I play g3, but in fact e3 is a much better move that wins immediately. White can't move the rod, because if he moves the rod, then black plays f2, winning the queen. If black instead, for instance, plays bishop b2 and pinning the queen to the king, black continues with e takes f2, queen takes f2, rod e1 check, king h2, bishop f4 check, g3, rod h8, checkmate. So e3 would have won immediately in this position, but instead I played g3, so it takes a little longer time to win the game, but actually I think it's a very beautiful win. Now white plays a bishop to b2, pinning the queen to the king, black takes the rook on g2 and white takes back with the queen, and now unlike the position after e3, in the e3 variation, now black cannot play the rook to e1, so black has to sacrifice the queen on b2. White takes back, and now black has a very strong move, bishop f6, attacking the queen. White moves the queen to b7, And now black does not take the rook on a1, instead he chooses the check on d4, check. White moves the king to f1, black plays rook h8, threatening mate on h1. To avoid the mate, white takes the pawn on f3, and now black plays knight f4. So all the three squares in front of the king are covered by the knight and the bishop, and again black threatens rook h1 mate. The king goes to e1 to try to escape the mate. Now black plays e3, and again all the squares in front of the king is covered, and again rook h1 mate is threatening. White now plays the pawn to c5 to open up for the bishop to come back to help the king. But black simply continues with moving the rook to h1 check. Bishop go between, but black just takes the bishop, and the king takes back, and now the other rook gets into action. Rook a to h8, and again mate on h1 is threatening. The king cannot go to e1 because that would just be mate, because now not only 3 but 4 squares are covered by the black pieces. So to prevent rook h1, the king has to go to g1, but then black simply pushes the e-pawn to e2, and it is checkmate. This was, I think, a very nice ending, and this was also my first chess video. I hope the game was entertaining. Thank you.